And what is up, everybody? A few days ago, I think the only fan that I have, I've got very few followers on this channel, but one guy who like comments over and over again tells me he's like, oh yeah, I would love for you to do more, the more philosophical, more food for thought type stuff, and I'm like, but this is supposed to be a geek review channel, you know. Originally, this was supposed to be for me doing my short film projects, but unfortunately, it's tough to find like minded individuals. You know, as often as you try it, as many times as you think you find them, turns out they're all a bunch of flakes anyway. You know, and certain things like that. So this just turned into me just giving my opinion on video games, on movies, on cartoons and TV shows and stuff like that, and especially on mixed martial arts fights, which I haven't been able to keep up with because UFC has lost its soul a long time ago. This what John Jones and what Conor McGregor are able to get away with now is stuff that Dana White, would have fired would have fired you a long time ago if this was still under Zuffa. And it sucks that it's come to that, and but that's not what we're talking about today, because I find myself in a very very uncomfortable position. Uncomfortable, as in like This past weekend, uh, I found a dog. Not just any dog, a husky. I've always wanted a husky. That's my favorite dog. I've always wanted one, and this one was a stray, and it was ridiculously friendly. Just such an extremely friendly dog, beautifully marked and everything. And I had to turn it into animal control because the organization that I'm contracted under right now, which got me my apartment, which I love my apartment, I just wish it was somewhere else, doesn't allow animals. And the building itself doesn't allow animals unless it's seeing eye dog or for seizures. Not for emotional companionship. Seeing eye dogs or seizures. That's it. And it brought me to tears because I'm not in a position where I could have helped him. I find myself constantly in positions where there's things that I wish I could, things I wish I could do for myself or for somebody else, and I can't do it. But then it's like, what I like to do is find the people who've done it, successful people. And the only two people I know who are, as far as I'm concerned, the most successful people I know. I personally know two. One's an old war buddy, and the other's my little sister. Here's the problem. I don't really like how they got to their success. Not that there's something wrong with how they got it. I just don't see myself in particular, like that's not who I am. That's not what I want to do. Prime example. My sister, right? She's my younger sister. I don't know how the hell this happened, but I went through, I didn't get to go to high school. I was left back in seventh grade. My father pulled us out, put us in this glorified homeschooling program as far as the Yonkers Board of Education was concerned. I dropped out and get my GED, join the Marine Corps, pay for the Montgomery GI Bill, pay my way through college, got a degree in digital media. Okay, great. I've herniated discs in my neck, torn rotator cuff, hernia mesh shoved into my guts because I had an umbilical hernia. Back hurts. I'm not in the best shape to be doing anything. And then psychologically can't necessarily, don't necessarily like dealing with people for too very long. But my boy Caesar, I shouldn't have said his name, but my boy Caesar, me and him were in Iraq together. He outranked me. Just the first day. It was the first day that we met, and I can't wait to get out the Marine Corps. He re-enlisted, and when he re-enlisted, he met the woman he's going to spend the rest of his life with, and I don't begrudge him at all for that. I'm a bit jealous that he was able to find somebody so quickly, especially after he was swearing off. He's like, oh, I'm just never gonna find anybody. Then lo and behold, he finds somebody. And what winds up happening is him and his wife. He's a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, an E8. He's pretty close to retiring. Not this year, but next year, I believe. His wife makes a lot of money because she works with computers, and she makes a lot of money. In fact, she doesn't even have to go to work. She works at home for a corporation that's in San Diego, and she's chomping it to bits. They got a lot of money, yet they don't own anything. I don't understand how that works. I mean, with the exception of probably their SUV and maybe their motorcycles, I'm not 100% sure. But he goes and buys a Nissan Nismo. He liked the car. He decided, he liked the car and he wanted it. That's an exotic car. That car cost 6 figures. He's still got about good, I think maybe 2 or 3 more years of having to pay it off. The house they're living in, they've had that house since 2006. Still not paid off. Then they just got a whole bunch of other properties that they're taking out loans, and they're building their credit, and they're constantly, one credit card after another, and then yes, they're saving a few dollars here, this, that, the other, but then they just bought like 2 more houses in Florida that they're gonna rent out, but they didn't pay it off. It's all mortgages, and they're living comfortably right now because they're making all the payments. Well, what happens when you miss a payment? What happens if you're put in a position where you can't make any more payments? Now, he's a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. At the rank he is right now, it would take an act of Congress to demote him. That doesn't mean they can't kick him out. Nothing is guaranteed. Just somebody could say the wrong thing. Somebody could do the wrong thing. He gets the rap for it. He gets let go. He might be honorably discharged. But now he's got no paycheck and he's got no pension. His wife makes a lot of money, but not enough to cover everything that they owe money for. What's going to happen to him? What's going to happen to them if they miss anything? And don't get me wrong, they're living comfortably, and I love coming over to visit, and I have a good time. I have a good time with them. And he's constantly trying to tell me, oh, what you got to do is this, what you got to do is this, and get a credit card. I don't want a credit card. I don't want a credit card. I want my own money. Then here's my sister. For the life of me, when I got my GED and I got into the Marine Corps and trying to get a job after that, for whatever reason, she's always made more money. I don't get it. I don't. It's like it's as if I put in more, I put in more time and more work to try to learn certain things so that I could make more money, and she's always made more money than me. I don't get it. And this whole because I made the mistake of believing when they said, oh, when you get out the military, you can get a job anywhere, right? The reason why she's so successful now, because her boyfriend's rich. And she works for her boyfriend's family's company. She basically runs everything. I guess she does a pretty good job. Here's the problem. She's a brat. Yeah, absolutely has to have it her way. No ifs, ands, or buts. Has to, have it her way. Puts down her boyfriend. Don't hear her say too many nice things about certain people that they work for, this, that, the other. Granted, her boyfriend sometimes is not the brightest bulb in the tree, but a lot of the flack that he gets doesn't really deserve it sometimes. And one day he could just be like, that's it. You can't live here anymore. Or his family, the company that she runs, could be like, yeah, we're gonna be doing this without you. And she's constantly saying, oh yeah, they can't run this thing without me. It's like, that's famous last words. Because they had that company long before you got there. They were doing fine without. They did fine without you. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they can manage without you. And she's someone else. I don't understand how certain things like one of her friends, one of the guys that you have to understand something. A bunch of guys that my sisters were, flirtatiously, hanging out with all the time. They all joined the Marine Corps like it was going out of style. And they all joined at the same time. I could have cared less. The only reason I joined the Marine Corps was because the Army recruiter didn't open the door fast enough. I wind up joining on my own terms. Not because that's what everybody else was doing, but because that at the time, that was the option that I had. So I took it. I'm not those guys. One of them got into the fire department. Okay, great. What I want to know is, if you were just going to join, I was like, why do you have to join the Marines to get into the fire department? You didn't need that. You could have just joined the fire department. You don't have to join the military to get, to be a cop. You don't have to join the military to get into the fire department. You could just join get into the police academy. Get into the I don't know what it is that they call the training you go before getting into the fire department. But I'm an artist, always have been, storyteller. There's things that I was aspiring to, and what I needed at the time was, you know, I'm gonna get there, but I had to pay for it in blood, in sweat, and a lot of tears. Meanwhile, what I got around me, not the most comfortable situation. And like I said, I love my apartment, but I just wish it was somewhere else. But my TV, my couch, my PS4, my laptop, that's all mine. I'm not making payments on $5,000 televisions. I didn't pay for it with a credit card that that I have to make payments on. I paid it all cash. And then on top of that, it's not somebody else buying it for me. It's mine. Now, I'm not in a position where I can get all of that myself, but I'm definitely not in a position where if something goes wrong, I lose it. I lose everything. Now, granted, you're like, yeah, um, yes, I could lose all this, but it'll be real easy for me to get it back because I wasn't depending on something else. I wasn't depending on, oh, I need this paycheck so that I can make payments on. I need this paycheck so I can make payments on this. Because I can do this because my boyfriend and his family can afford it. That's not the For me, that's not the way. That's not the way I want to live. And for the most part, and like I said, my war buddy, he lives comfortably, and I love him. I just don't want to be in that sort of position. My sister Misty, I don't want to be in that position because what happens when this dude decides to grow a pair and throw you out? You're screwed. And like I said, she's always made more money than me, whatever job, but it was peanuts compared to what she's doing now. And she had to get a GED just like me. And even before that, she was making more money. I don't get it. I don't. But nowhere near what she's got now. And her work ethic, I want to say, is okay. For the most part, good. She's always been a hard worker, hence why she's been able to. But her attitude is lousy. Meanwhile, I myself probably don't have the best attitude in the world either. Mostly because of the standard that I worked for during a time where what you did actually mattered, and matters in the form of life or death. Because in the Marine Corps, anything and everything that you did, especially as an ordnance technician for F-18s, even back at home, working on the weapon system of a jet, the most important part of these missions that these pilots got to fly, because without the weapon system, the jet's useless. Not to mention the fact that if the weapon system doesn't work, he's dead in the water. And the people that he's flying out to support are dead if I don't do my job. But now, bring that level of commitment, that level of focus into being a janitor, where everything's run on union time. That sort of focus, being a security guard, where you're not there to protect anybody. You're not there to take charge of this post and all government property in view. You're just there so that if the place gets robbed, you just make sure to get the robbers a shopping bag, and then after they've left with everything, try to describe to the police what they looked like. Or a job where, because your boss's boss mistreats him, he feels the need to mistreat you and thinks that because you know how to take orders, that now you're gonna, because you did 4 years of just taking orders blindly, and no, not as blindly as you think, that you're just gonna do whatever I say. Doesn't work like that for me. And that's the problem with a lot of vets. Doesn't work like that for them. Now, I myself in a position, I'm at 100% compensation. I'm doing a lot better now than I was a year ago, than I was 2 years ago. Still not where I want to be, but it's my money. That's the difference. I want more. I'm striving for more. And it's not because I'm greedy, but it's so that I can have my own apartment where if I find a stray dog, a dog that I've wanted my whole life, and the dog was extremely friendly, and I hurt myself carrying the dog because he didn't like being put on a leash, and he's afraid of stairs. He didn't want to climb up the stairs, so I had to carry this dog myself. A full-grown husky, he let me carry him. This was a very friendly dog. Dog I've wanted my whole life. And I had to give him up because I'm not in a position to help him. Friend of mine, childhood friend of mine, she is going through a rough patch. And it's because of her husband. She wants a divorce. He's making it impossible because she's back in New York. And in New York, they require that you be legally separated for a year before going through, a divorce hearing. He literally, he pays the money to get the paperwork done, then rips up the paperwork. But he's not doing anything to change her mind. He's still acting exactly the same way. He told her that he doesn't want to be married to her anymore, but then got mad because now he realized that that means she gets to go with somebody else. Now he can't have that, so he's got to keep her on lock any way he can. If I had a place for her to go, or if I had the money to just, just help her to get somewhere else, I'd have done it a long time ago. My father, with the little bit that because we didn't have a lot growing up, and my father was, I called it the Garcia boarding house, because I don't know how many of my cousins and my cousins' babies' mamas, as a kid, all the way up until I was 9 years old, I would wake up, went to my living room on a Saturday morning to try to watch cartoons or something like that, and there's strange people sleeping in my living room. Turns out I was related to them. And if it was a woman, they'd have an infant laying next to them. That's how I met my cousin Selena. That's how I met my cousin Lewis. That's how I met another cousin whose name I don't even remember because I haven't seen her again since that. I haven't seen that little girl again since I was 4 years old. My father was always put himself in a position to help somebody. It was at great cost to his family. I don't have my own family yet. I'm still not in a position to help anybody. And the two people that I have helped, it's backfired on me. Where can I do more? How do I go about it? Do I get a credit card and build my credit and buy buy a bunch of houses on loans and just make payments, not owning anything? And then God forbid something goes wrong and it's all gone? Or do I find some sugar mama that when she gets tired of me could possibly throw me out? What do you do in these situations? And one other person who was pretty successful is a cousin of mine. She went through college during a time where not only was it important, it was actually relevant that you go through college. She did pretty well for herself. Then she married a man who was in the fire department and the man put a lot of years in. They don't own property or anything like that. I mean, they don't own several properties or anything like that. They have a house, one house. And her mom and her dad are there. They got 4 kids. Raised all 4 of them. I think the youngest one should be like working or at least going to college or something like that. They did all that on it. That's their money. And but I can't do what they did. I can't do what my sister did. I can't do what my war buddy did. I can only do what I have to do as soon as I figure it out. And this might not be food for thought or anything like that, but it's like, which do you prefer? Put in a position where you have to constantly make money, put in a position where you have to make somebody happy, or be in a position where you can do everything your way, the way you want it. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.